Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock. We have all of your news coming out of the weekend with the fallout from the UFC Fight Night card in Boston over the weekend, a featherweight title fight that looks to be set for later in the year, and the UFC finds their light heavyweight champion. Conor McGregor didn't finish Dennis Siver within 2 minutes, but he did do it within 2 rounds, stopping Siver at the 154 mark of the second round. McGregor outclassed Siver, standing with superior movement and relying on his left hand to constantly get through and connect with Siver. Following the bout, McGregor jumped outside of the cage and got into the face of featherweight champion Jose Aldo. UFC President Dana White later stated that the championship fight is expected to take place in May in Las Vegas. Donald Cerrone pulled off his 7th consecutive victory and the 2nd win this month, edging past Benson Henderson in a closely contested fight with straight scorecards of 29-28. Cerrone appeared vulnerable to Henderson's low kicks early in the fight, but had some brief takedowns and mixed with his striking gave him the decision. Cerrone did state that he finally needs some time off following his 2nd fight in 15 days. And the UFC announced last week that they are fining light heavyweight champion Jon Jones $25,000 for violating the athlete code of conduct after Jones tested positive earlier this month for the main metabolite found in cocaine. Jones will be appearing on Fox Sports 1 on Monday night for a taped interview with Carissa Thompson to discuss the drug test failure and his brief stint in rehab. Here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black to chat about a number of different issues. The first of which, guys, Jon Jones, he's going to have to be raising some funds here. $25,000.
Crippling.
So this is, don't say that this man did not go unpunished in this whole thing. And I'm sure he's going to get all of this out in a pre-recorded interview that will be airing on Monday night. We'll get his full side of the story as he bats those hardballs that are coming his way.
How many kilos can you buy for? No, come on.
Hardballs. It's going to be a T-ball. It's like the little plastic ball is going to be sitting on that stand, and Jon Jones is going to knock them out of the park. It's really.
It's something.
What
from
are we
the
learning
UFC.
from that?
They're obviously not condoning this. At the same
yeah,
time,
right.
It's like I just look at this whole thing of how it's been handled, and it's just like, why did we do any of this?
True.
Like, why don't we just say, okay, he got caught, let's move on. Let's skip all the PR,
Done.
the rehab,
Perfect.
the fines.
Conor McGregor, we're going to talk about him.
Yeah, but this is not a fight thing.
Yeah.
This is not a UFC thing. This is the whole world thing. Weird stuff happens, and then people get a publicist to figure out how to handle it, and they do, an automatic thing. Or I want to apologize to my fans. It's all nonsense. It's all total nonsense.
I think more and more people, they understand what this game is. It's a show. It's a theater performance, essentially.
Yeah. Ultimately, who says, I am not a frequent cocaine user? Either someone who is not a frequent cocaine user
or somebody that is
a frequent cocaine user. So it's an irrelevant statement from a guy who got dinged for blow,
You want to talk about another performance, that being Conor McGregor's on Sunday night, defeating Dennis Siver, a minute 54 of the second round, so it went outside of that 2-minute window. But this was a tremendous performance by Conor McGregor, no other way to slice it. These were just 2 different classes of fighters, I think, and we saw Conor McGregor prove that statement correct on Sunday.
And we heard McGregor talk about it at the post-fight press conference, talking about just being in the zone. Yeah, sure, he wanted to take him out in 2 minutes, but he was drinking it in, the electricity of the Boston crowd, the whole vibe, because, as much as his life has changed, this fight with Jose Aldo that's scheduled for May, his life is even going to change so much more, especially if he can manage a victory over Jose Aldo. But we were talking about it. This really is a huge step up in competition. We all watch Conor McGregor and the way he performs, and you marvel at his abilities inside of the cage. But Dennis Siver, Max Holloway, Marcus Brimage, Diego Brandao, they are not Frankie Edgar, they're not Chad Mendez, they're not Ricardo Lamas, and they are certainly not Jose Aldo. This guy is a special athlete, and he is going to bring it to Conor McGregor, and let's just hope that he is up to the task, because what happens if Jose Aldo embarrasses this guy? What if he does what he did to Uriah Faber, to the Irishman? Will McGregor be able to rebound from something like that?
Yeah, you got to figure that Dana White will often say, you can't plan anything, the outcome will be the outcome, and you cannot plan to make something work, and I agree to a certain extent. You want to promote something a certain way, but you'll get the promotion that you're going to get. And if you say, hey, we went and this guy beat this guy, these guys at a lower level, and you're trying to convince us that he can beat Jose Aldo. Well, if you've got an interesting guy, that's really interesting to me because I don't know. I mean, I just minutes ago rewatched that fight with Siver. It was brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But is it brilliant enough to beat Jose Aldo? I don't know. And I don't know because he never fought Mendez, and I don't know because he never fought Cub Swanson, and I don't know because he never fought Frankie Edgar. And that makes it all the more interesting to me. It makes it all the more interesting to take this guy that looks really, really good and put him in the top where we go, I don't know. That's cool.
But he did face off against Dustin Poirier, took this guy out, but did Dustin Poirier fold under the pressure of this fight with Conor McGregor? Because there were a lot of eyeballs. He's dealing with stuff that he never dealt with before. You know, you look at the Q&A with Conor and him just going after Dustin Poirier. That really can mess with somebody's psyche. I have a feeling if these guys...
Conversely, the other way,
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Conor McGregor has put on himself and the scrutiny this guy gets. I don't think anybody inside of the UFC faces more scrutiny than this guy, and he's done nothing to give you clear evidence that this guy has failed along the way.
Yeah, if anything, we see all the time, guys who don't talk trash or whatever will suddenly elevate the pressure by putting more weight on a fight, you know, talking, Ellenberger and Rory McDonald. Ellenberger talked about him on Twitter, calling him a fruit stick and stuff, and all of a sudden he kind of froze up. The extra pressure freezes some guys. This guy seems to thrive on it. He builds the pressure so high and handles it. And the question is, can you handle it? And Dustin Poirier, you mentioned, maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. That's a real thing. It's a real X factor that this guy legitimately brings into a fight.
Donald Cerrone talked about it leading up to the fight with Ben Henderson. He goes, everybody expects me to fight a certain way, to come out guns blazing and have an absolute brawl every time I step inside of the cage. He said that's a lot of pressure for anybody, and you would expect Conor McGregor's human just like the rest of us. There is pressure that he has to deal with.
All right, he is Robin Black, John Ramdeen, John Pollock here. More Fight News Now Xers coming up. Don't go anywhere.